Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm Lissa Muscatine. I'm one of the co-owners of Politics and Prose Bookstore up on Connecticut Avenue, and it is always such a pleasure to host our author events in partnership with Sixth and I Synagogue. We love this venue. They have a great staff. We want to thank all of them for, as always, helping to put on a great event. And as you can see, if you've never been here before, it is a lovely surrounding, and it's very conducive to this kind of evening, so we're always delighted to be here. But we also hope you'll come up and visit us on Connecticut Avenue, too. So we do a lot of events in the store, and hope to see you there sometime soon. It's a great pleasure to introduce David Mitchell this evening. Mr. Mitchell is regarded widely as a transformational force in literary fiction. Tonight he will speak about and read from his much anticipated new novel, The Bone Clocks. Those of you who've read any of Mr. Mitchell's previous 6 novels, 2 of which were on the short list for the Man Booker Prize, know that his literary greatness stems in part from an unwillingness to be constrained by conventional boundaries of time, geography, narrative structure, and reality. Many of his works feature distinct stories and characters separated by place, time, and history, and yet then somehow they're intertwined by way of the author's imagination and prose. The Bone Clocks include 6 stories and 6 different narrators who invite the reader to rethink and redraw their own notions of what's real and what's possible in their worlds and beyond. I just should mention that, and this is probably true of all of his novels actually, but The Bone Clocks is already an enormous staff favorite at Politics and Prose. In fact, I was just speaking a couple days ago to probably the best read member of our staff, who happens also to be the most discerning, discriminating, and hard to impress of our booksellers. And she had just finished The Bone Clocks, absolutely loved it. She called the stories a dazzling whirl and concluded, and this is a quote, "Mitchell's expanding fictional universe has become a spiraling multiverse." His work has resulted in literary prizes, as I mentioned, and in 2007, Mr. Mitchell was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. And let's keep in mind that that was before he'd even written several of his best novels, so clearly he did not peak too early. And I want to just say in ending, and this is somewhat of a minor confession, that, you know, when you read his work and then you stand up here to introduce him, it is a bit daunting to stop and consider what sort of person houses the mind, imagination, and creative spirit capable of conjuring up the events, characters, and interconnections in and among his stories and novels. Well, it turns out he's a pretty normal guy. He lives in Ireland with his wife and kids. He balances writing and family time, and I think everyone who's met him, and that includes me as of this evening, knows that he is genuinely a lovely person. So please join me in welcoming David Mitchell to Washington.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you for that stunning introduction. And when I get back home to Ireland, finally, Lisa, and my wife tells me to take out the wheelie bin because the refuse truck is going by pretty soon, I'll say, actually, I'm a transformational force. She will, of course, then lift up said wheelie bin and invert it over the head of the transformational force, thereby bringing me back down to size. But no, really, thank you very much. And thanks to Politics and Prose, who I have learnt, who are essentially responsible for a rolling, never-ending literary festival, which is a great asset for any city to have. And what a bookshop. And thank you also to this fabulous venue, which is breathtaking now I look at it. I haven't had the chance until I walked in. It's beautiful. This isn't the place where Kevin Spacey does the speeches in House of Cards. I've been walking around your city earlier saying, I know that bridge, and that's where he pushed him in front of yeah, I know that. So as Liz alluded to, the book is set in 6 different time zones, which actually makes it quite hard to do a reading. I'd sort of like to give you a little sort of sampler from each section, like a quite breathtaking Greek restaurant dessert that I had earlier that had all of the little items from the menu. But if I did do that, then I fear it might be a little bit episodic and would lack some sort of internal coherence. So instead, I'm going to stick to the first section of the book, which is set in 1984. For this, you have to imagine that I'm a 15-year-old, obviously teenage female punkette, which I'm sure you would be able to do, living in Washington. I'm not quite sure what I mean by that, but maybe I have been watching too much House of Cards. I've essentially run away from home. Didn't mean to. I thought I was going to run to my slightly older lover. His name is Vinny, he's referred to here. However, I had a very humbling epiphany when I went to Vinny's house earlier, involving Vinny and my best friend. So enough gender transformation for now. I've run away from home. I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight, but that doesn't matter. I'm not going back because my mum doesn't understand me. I'm sure we've all been there. Sort of like now I think about it, but no, she's a lovely lady. The Thames is riffled and muddy blue today, and I walk and walk and walk away from Gravesend towards the Kent marshes, and before I know it, it's 11:30 and the town's a little model of itself a long way behind me. The wind unravels clouds from the chimneys of the Blue Circle cement factory like streams of hankies out of a conjurer's pocket. To my right, the A2 roars away over the marshes. Old Mr. Sharkey says it's built over a road made by the Romans in Roman times, and the A2 is still how you get to Dover to catch the boat to the continent, just like the Romans did. Pylons march off in double file. Back at the pub, Dad'll be hoovering the bar, unless Sharon's doing it to get my £3. The morning's gone muggy and stretched, like it does in triple maths, and the sun's giving me eye ache. I left my sunglasses in Vinny's kitchen, sat on the draining board. $14.99 they cost me. I bought them with Stella, who said she'd seen the same sunglasses on Carnaby Street for 3 times the price, so I thought I was getting a bargain. Then I imagined myself strangling Stella, and my arms and hands go all stiff like I'm actually doing it. Someone laughed at that, which disturbs me a little bit. I'm thirsty. By now, Mammal have told Dad something about why Holly went off in a teenage strop, but I bet £1,000,000 she'll have twisted it all. Dad will be joking about the girls bust up, and PJ and Nipper and Big Dex will nod and grin like the shower of tossers they are. PJ will pretend to read from the Sun. It says here, astronomers at the University of Bullshitshire have just found new evidence that, yes, teenagers really are the centre of the universe. They'll all cackle, and good old Dave Sykes, my dad, everyone's favourite landlord, will join in with his, "Oh, you're so witty I could wet myself" laugh. Let's see if they're still laughing by Wednesday when I still haven't shown up. Up ahead, in the distance, men are fishing. By 3 o'clock, my whole head's parched, not just my mouth. I've never walked so far in my life, I reckon. There's no sign of a shop or even a house where I can ask for a glass of water. Then I notice a small woman fishing off the end of a jetty thing, like she's sort of sketched into the corner of the afternoon where nobody will spot her. She's a long stone throw away, but I see her fill a cup from a flask. I'd never normally do this, but I'm so thirsty by now that I walk down the embankment and along the jetty up to her, clomping my feet on the old wooden plank so as not to scare her. "Excuse me, but could you spare a drop of that water, please?" She doesn't even look round. "Cold tea, do you?" Her croaky voice sounds from somewhere hot. "Oh, that would be great, thanks. I'm not fussy." "Help yourself then, if you're not fussy." So I fill the cup, not thinking about germs or anything. It's not normal tea, but it's the most refreshing thing I've ever drunk, and I let the liquid swoosh all round my mouth. Now I look at her properly for the first time. Sort of elephanty eyes in a wrinkled old face with short grey hair, a grubby safari shirt, and a leathery wide-brimmed hat that looks about 100 years old. "Is it good?" she asks. "Yeah," I say it was. It sort of tastes like grass. "Green tea. Lucky you're not fussy." I ask, "Since when's tea been green?" "Since bushes made their leaves that colour." There's a splish of a fish. I see where it was, but not where it is. "So, have you caught much today?" 5 perch, 1 trout. It's a slow afternoon." I don't see a bucket or anything. "Well, where are they?" A bee lands on the brim of her hat. "I let them go." "If you don't want the fish, why'd you catch them?" "For the quality of the conversation." I look around. The footpath, a brambly field, a scrubby wood, and a choked-up track. She must be taking the piss. There's nobody here. The bee's happy where it is, even when the woman stirs herself to reel in the line. I stand off to one side as she checks the bait still secure on the hook. Drips of water splash the thirsty planks of the jetty. The river slurps at the shore and sloshes round the wooden pillar things. Still seated, and with an expert flick of the wrist, the old woman sends the lead weight looping away. The reel makes its zithery noise, and the weight lands in the water where it was before. Circles float outwards, dead calm. Then she does something really weird. She takes out a stick of chalk from her pocket and writes on a plank by her foot the word "my." On the next plank along, she writes "long." Then on the next plank, it's the word "name." Then the old woman puts the chalk away and goes back to her fishing. I wait for her to explain, but she doesn't. "What's all that about?" "What's what about?" "What you just wrote." "They're instructions." "Instructions for who?" "For someone many years from now." "But it's chalk. It'll wash off." "From the jetty, yes, but not from your memory." Okay, so she's mad as a sack of ferrets. Only I don't tell her so, because I'd like more of that green tea. "You can finish the tea if you want," she says. "You won't find a shop until you and the boy arrive at All Hallows on Sea." "Thanks." I fill the cup. "Are you sure this is the last of it?" "One good turn deserves another." She turns a crafty sniper's eye on me. "I may need asylum." Asylum? She needs a mental asylum. "Well, how do you mean?" "Refuge, a bolt hole. If the first mission fails, as I fear it must." God, crazy people are hard work. Look, I'm 15. I don't have an asylum or a bolt hole. Sorry. "Oh, you're ideal. You're unexpected. My tea for your asylum. Do we have a deal?" Dad says the best way to handle drunks is just to humour them and then dump them, and maybe the doolally are kind of like drunks who just never sober up. Okay, it's a deal. She nods, and I drink until the sun's a pale glow through the thin bottom of the plastic cup. The old bat's gazing away again. "Thank you, Holly." So I thank her back and return to dry land. And then I turn around and go back to her. "How do you know my name?" She doesn't turn around. "By what name was I baptized?" What a stupid game this is. "Esther Little." "And how do you know my name?" Cause you just told me." "Did she?" "Must have." "That's that settled then." And those were Esther Little's final words. Fast forward to that evening. Holly has hooked up with a boy in her class at school who's sort of more used to looking after himself in the wild than she is. Me and Brubeck leg it down the lane like we've escaped from Colditz. The church bells behind us sound sloshy and shiny in the blue dark. I get a stitch, so we stop at a bench by the village sign. Oh, that's just typical, says Brubeck. I want to show off my how to survive in the wild skills, and then it's suddenly the invasion of the Wurzels instead. God, I need a fag. You? I can't say that in the States, can I? It sounds absolutely like a totally different kind of a story altogether. As you will know, that's a fag. No laughing at the back. We might have some more fags in the same kind of context in this book, but please take it in good transatlantic spirit. Will they be ding-donging for a while, do you reckon? Yeah, I guess so. They were trying to hide out in a church, but then some bell ringers arrived, hence the reference to bells. Yeah, I guess so. Brubeck hands me a cigarette and holds out a lighter, so I dip the tip in flame. I'll let you back in when they've gone. Those Yale locks, they're a cinch, even in the dark. But shouldn't you be getting home? I'll call my mum from the phone box by the pub and say I'm staying out night fishing after all. Just my little white lie. I need his help, but I'm nervous about a price tag. He picks up on this. Oh, don't worry, Sykes. My intentions are honourable. I think of Vinnie Costello and flinch. Good. Guys don't just think about getting off with girls, you know. I fire a beam of smoke straight at Brubeck's face so he has to squint and look away. I've got an older brother, I tell him. We're by an overgrown orchard, so when we've finished our cigarettes, we climb in and scrump a few unripe apples. Scrump's one of my favourite verbs. It's a West England thing for stealing apples. Isn't that a specific verb for stealing apples? I love that. There's a brick wall to clamber up. The apples are tart as limes, but good after an oily dinner. Lights blink on the power station as we passed earlier. Out that way, Brubeck chucks an apple core in the general direction. Past them hazy lights on the Isle of Sheppey, there's a fruit farm, Gabriel Harty's. I worked the strawberry season there last year and I made 25 quid a day. There's dorms for the pickers, and once the exams are over, I'm going back. I'm saving for an interrail in August. What's an interrail? You serious? Yeah. Oh, it's a train pass. You pay 130 quid and then you can travel all over Europe for a month for free. Second class, but still, from the tip of Portugal to the top of Norway, Eastern Bloc countries too, Yugoslavia and places, the Berlin Wall, Istanbul. In Istanbul, there's this bridge, right? One side's in Europe and the other's in Asia, and I'm going to walk across it. Far away, a lonely dog barks, or perhaps a fox. I ask, what do you do in all those countries? Oh, you look around, you walk, you find a cheap bed, eat what the locals eat, find a cheap beer, try not to get fleeced, pick up a few words in the local lingo. Just be there, you know? Sometimes, Brubeck bites into an apple, sometimes I want to be everywhere, all at once, so badly I could just... Brubeck mimes a bomb going off in his ribcage. Do you never get that feeling? A bat flaps by, like it's on a string in a naff vampire film. Not really, if I'm honest. Furthest I've ever been is to Ireland, to see my mum's relatives in Cork. What's it like? Well, it's different. It's not all checkpoints and bombs like up north, you know, though the troubles are still in the air a bit, and it's best to keep your mouth shut about politics. They hate Thatcher because of Bobby Sands and the hunger strikers. I've got this one great aunt, my mum's Aunt Eilish. She's brilliant. She keeps hens and has a gun in a coal hole, and when she was younger, she cycled all the way to Kathmandu. Really, she did. She felt that wanna-be everywhere boom thing for sure. I've seen photos and newspaper cuttings and stuff. She lives on this long headland near Bantry, the Sheep's Head Peninsula. It's like the edge of the world. There's nothing there, no shops or anything, but there's not many people I'd admit this to. I really loved it. There's a moon sharp enough to cut your finger on. We say nothing for a bit, but it's not an awkward nothing. Then Brubeck says, do you know about the second umbilical cord, Sykes? I can't make out his face anymore. You what? Well, when you're a baby in the womb, there's this cord. I know what an umbilical cord is, thanks. But what's this second one? Well, psychologists say there's this second umbilical cord, an invisible one, kind of an emotional one, which ties you to your parents for the whole time you're a kid. Then one day you have a row with your mum if you're a girl, or if your dad if you're a boy, and that argument cuts your second cord. Then, and only then, are you ready to go off into the big wide world and be an adult on your own terms. It's like a rite of passage thing. I argue with my mum, like, daily. She treats me like I'm 10. Brubeck lights another fag. It takes a drag and passes it to me. I'm talking about a bigger, nastier fight. Afterwards, you know what happened. You're not the kid you were. And you're sharing these pearls of wisdom with me. Why? He lines up his answer carefully. If you're running off because your dad's a petty criminal who beats your mum up and throws you downstairs when you try to stop him, then running away is the clever thing to do. Go, I'll give you my interrail money. But if you're sat on this wall tonight just because your umbilical cord got snipped, then yeah, it hurts. But it had to happen. Just cut your mum a bit of slack. It's like a part of growing up. You shouldn't be punishing her for it. She slapped me. Bet she feels like shit about it now. Oh, you don't even know her. Are you sure you do, Sykes? What's that supposed to bloody mean? Brubeck lets it drop. So I let it drop too. Next day, they break back into the church, sleep there, and Holly is waking up. Tin whistles, scratty noises, birdsong, and a stained glass angel. Oh yeah, the little church on the Isle of Grain. I remember now, lit by sun through the first crack of the day. Mam, the row, Stella and Vinny, waking up in each other's arms. My throat goes tight. I suppose if some man's been inside you often enough, it'll take a while to get rid of him. Oh, love's pure, free joy when it works, but when it goes bad, you pay for the good hours at loan shark prices. 6:03, says my Timex. Sunday, Ed Brubeck. There he is, asleep on his cushiony things, mouth squashed open, hair floppy. His baseball cap sits on his neatly folded lumberjack shirt. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes. I was dreaming about Jacko and Miss Constantine, holding open a curtain of air and stone steps going up like in an Indiana Jones film. But who cares? I lost Vinny. Stella stole Vinny. Ed Brubeck snores like a bear. Brubeck wouldn't two-time his girlfriend, if he has one. Most boys in my year drop hints about losing their virginity at a mate's party, especially boys who haven't, stroking their bum-fluff moustaches. Ed Brubeck doesn't do any of that, which probably means he has done it. If it was with someone at our school, I'd have heard. Dunno, though. He keeps his mouth shut. Mind you, he told me quite a bit yesterday. His dad, his family, everything. Why me? Watch his sleeping, pointy, half-man, half-boy's face. And then the answer's obvious. It's because he fancies you, you prawn. If he fancies me, why didn't he make a pass at me? Oh, he's clever, I realise. First he makes you grateful. Right, of course. I do believe it's time I was off. Dandelions and thistles grow along the cracked track and the hedges are taller than me. Obviously she's left the church at this point. The early sun's like laser beams. Don't know why I nicked Brubeck's cap as I crept away, but I'm glad I did. He won't mind. Much. Should be able to cut across the fields to the main road to Rochester. 6-7 miles away, I reckon. My blisters will take it. They'll have to. I don't have a first aid box in my duffel bag. I feel the sharp jab of hunger, but my stomach will just have to put up and shut up. I'll find something to eat at Rochester. Perhaps I should have said bye and thanks to Brubeck, but if he'd answered, "Oh, no worries, Sykes, but look, he's sure I can't give you a baccy back to Gravesend, all cheerful like," I might have found it too hard to say no. Up ahead, I see the track ending at a farmyard, so I climb a gate and skirt around a field of cabbages. Another gate, a hawk thing's a speck in the sky. 6 days should do it, I reckon. The police only get interested in missing teenagers once a week, sup. 6 days will show Mam I can look after myself in the big bad world. Then I'll be in a stronger, a stronger negotiating position. And I'll do it on my own without a Brubeck to get all boyfriendish on me. I'll have to be careful to make my money last. Remember that time I tried my hand at shoplifting? One Saturday last year, a bunch of us went to the Chatham roller disco for Ali Jessup's birthday, but it was like so lame that me and Stella and Amanda Kidd sneaked off to the high street. Amanda Kidd said, "Who wants to go fishing then?" I didn't want to, but Stella said, "Okay," so I acted all cool too, and we went into Debenhams. I'd never nicked anything in my life, and really I almost peed myself, but I watched Stella. She asked the shop assistant something pointless, and a bit later, accidentally on purpose, dropped 2 lipsticks from the cosmetics stand. When she bent down to pick them up, she put one of them in her boot. I did the same with some earrings I liked, and on my way out of the shop, I even asked the assistant what time they were open till. Once we were safe outside, the world felt different, like the rules had been changed. If you keep your nerve, you get what you want. Amanda Kidd had got a pair of sunglasses worth £10. Stella had some Estee Lauder lippy, and my fake diamond earrings sparkled like real ones. Next we went to the sweet factory where me and Amanda Kidd stuffed sweets into our clothes while Stella told the Saturday boy she'd seen him here every week for ages and even dreamt about him, and would he like to go for a walk with her somewhere private after work. Last we went to Woolworths. Stella and me drifted away to look at the top 40 singles, innocent enough, but the next minute the manager and an assistant were warning us in, and this store detective guy had Amanda Kidd, she was white and shaking like a sheet at this point, by the arm and saying, these are the 2 she came into the shop with. The manager ordered us upstairs to his office. All my willpower and attitude had sort of withered away, but Stella, she snapped back, "By whom am I being addressed?" Her voice came out posh and sharp. The manager said, "Just comes quietly, sweetheart," and tried to put his hand on her shoulder. Stella slapped it away and snapped at full volume, "Keep your grubby paws off me, you horrid little man. I don't know why you've linked my sister and me with this shoplifter." She sneered at Amanda Kidd, who now shook and sobbed. "But you'll tell us exactly why you think we'd steal any of this crap you sell in your ghastly little shop." And here she emptied her handbag onto the record counter. "And you'd better be right, Mr. Manager, or my father will serve you a writ first thing Monday. I'll make no mistakes. I know my rights." Lots of customers were rubbernecking our way, and miracle of miracles, the manager backed down and muttered that perhaps the store detective was mistaken and we were free to go. Stella said, "I know I'm free to go," put her things back in her handbag, and out we huffed. We sneaked back to the roller disco and didn't tell anyone what had happened. Amanda Kidd's mum had to go and get her in the end. I was panicking she'd grass us off, but she didn't dare. Amanda Kidd ate lunch with a different bunch of girls that week, and we've never really spoken since. She's been in the second from top class in our year now, so perhaps getting caught was good for her, sort of. The point is, unlike Stella, I'm not a natural thief or natural liar. That day in Woolworths, she even convinced me we were innocent. And look what a fool she made of me when my turn came to be Amanda Kidded. Doesn't Stella need friends? Or, for Stella, are friends just a way to get what you want? On my left's a steep embankment with a dual carriageway running along the top, and on my right, a field's been cleared for a massive housing estate by the look of it. There's diggers and bulldozers and porter cabins and tall wire fences and notices saying hard hats must be worn, and over a sign saying unauthorised entry is forbidden, someone sprayed "Ain't no black" in the Union Jack, plus a couple of swastikas for good measure. It's still early, 7:40. Brubeck will be cycling home, but back at the pub, Mum and Dad will still be in bed. Up ahead is the entrance to an underpass going under the fast road above. When I'm about 100 metres away, I see a boy there, and I stop. And this is really odd, but I could swear it's Jacko, my little brother. He just stands there watching me. The real Jacko's 20-odd miles away, I know, drawing a maze or reading a chess book or doing something Jacko-ish. But the kid I'm looking at's got the same floppy brown hair, shape, way of standing, even a red Liverpool FC top. I know Jacko, and this is him, or an identical twin nobody knows about. I keep walking, not daring to blink in case he vanishes. When I'm 50 metres away, I wave, and the kid who can't be my little brother waves. So I shout his name. He doesn't shout back, but just turns and walks down into the underpass. I don't know what to make of it, but I jog along now, nervous that Jacko's done a runner to come and find me, even though the sensible part of me is sure it can't be him, because how would Jacko know where to look? I run as fast as I can now, knowing something strange is going on, but not knowing what. The underpass is for walkers and cyclists only, so it's quite narrow, and only as long as the width of the 4 traffic lanes and the grass in the middle it goes under. Ahead, down, and then up a bit. The far exit's a square of fields, sky, and roofs. I've taken a few steps in before I notice it. Instead of getting darker towards the middle of the underpass, it's getting lighter. Instead of getting echoier, it's getting more muffled. I tell myself, no, it's just an illusion, don't worry. But after a few more steps, I'm sure of it. The underpass is changing its shape. It's wider and higher, with 4 corners like a big diamond-shaped room. It's becoming somewhere else. It's incredible and it's terrifying. I know I'm awake, but I know this can't be real. I stop walking altogether. I'm scared of hitting the wall. Where is this? I've been nowhere like it. Is it a daymare? Is it all that stuff from when I was a girl waking up again? There are narrow windows to my left and right, about 10 paces away, but they'd be well past the underpass walls. Through the left window, I see dunes, grey dunes, climbing up towards a high ridge. But through the right window, it's darker. The dunes there roll down towards a sea, but it's a black sea, utterly black, like darkness in a box, in a cave, a mile underground. A long table's appeared in the middle of this chamber, wherever we are, and I'm walking down on the left side of it, and look, there's a woman keeping pace with me on the right. She's young and beautiful in a cold way, like an actress who can't be touched. She's got white blonde hair and bone-pale skin, rich rose-red lips and a midnight blue ball gown like a woman from a story. It's Miss Constantine from my armchair when I was 7 years old. Why is my mind doing this to me now? That really weird place, I think I'm going to stop. If you want the answers, well, go to Politics and Prose. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm still just on beginning of week 3 of about 6, so I am testing readings out for the first time. So on the one hand, apologies for not having a totally tried, tested and polished reading for you, but on the other hand, it's nice to read things I haven't done before because it keeps me edgy and fresh. And edgy and fresh is good. Speaking of edgy and fresh, cheers. At this stage, someone who is better at public speaking would give you a witty, urbane and fascinating series of anecdotes about me, my life and writing. I'm not really that good at any of it, so with the permission of the venue, I'd love to jump into the Q&A because that's my favourite bit, because it's kind of like crowdsourced interviews, but you get really interesting questions because if you do a number of, obviously, interviews with journalists and great that the journalists are, of course, they come at it from a journalistic angle, whereas at Q&As I get questions. I got a great one in Brooklyn yesterday. If you were writing any TV show, what TV show would you like to write? Yes, I love that kind of thing. So please feel free to respond to the roving mics, which would be roving, or alternatively, you might want to come up to the front there. Could the universe send me a sign about how this bit is going to happen? People walk up to the mic. The universe has spoken. It takes a little bit of nerve to do this, of course, especially at the beginning in front of all these people. But if you don't, it's going to be really embarrassing for me. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. A little round of applause for the first person here. I'm really grateful. Oi!
Yeah.
Hi.
David, your writing is wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Amazingly creative. And that word you used earlier, scrumping?
Scrumping, yeah.
Scrumping. So you said that was one of your favorite words.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your other favorite words might be.
Sure.
And why.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Favorite words. That's a lovely one. I sort of keep a store of favorite words bubbling up. It's rather like jokes. I can only remember about 5 at the same time, and I can't remember a new one without having to forget an old one. Pavonine is a good word. Any takers? It's the Latin-rooted adjective for peacocks and peahens. So feline for cats, canine for dogs, corvine for crows, pavonine for peacocks. You can use it exactly never, except when you're asked for your favourite word. But it's quite a good one to have up your sleeve, you must admit. I like onomatopoeic words, especially in linguistics. There's the word fricative, to describe those sets of consonants that use the tongue a lot. They're great. Mellifluous, of course, is a lovely one because, as we all know, it means like honey, but it's applied to a mellifluous speaker. They're great. It's not widely known, actually, the genius of Japanese, the Japanese language for onomatopoeia. And these all the time, you sort of get double sets, sort of double-barreled adverbs to describe sounds or movements, but they're rooted in how the thing sounds. So if you've got a sort of a big lumbering thing moving along, then it's golo golo. If you've got sort of that endless rainy season rain, some of you might know if you've been in that part of the world, then it's za za. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a word. It's an adverb to embellish the verb of rain falling. And my favourite of all, the Japanese adverb for a violin being played inexpertly is kiki kiki. It's just beautiful, isn't it? So yeah, words are sacred, words are holy, and words are throwaway, and words are everyone's, and words are the ultimate democracy. And I love how words refuse to be abused by an abuser without emitting a bad smell. So you kind of know if someone's been downsized, then it just smells bad. Words are great. Thank you for that beautiful Brooklyn-style question via Washington. Thank you. I'll go to here. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Really quick, how do you say her daughter's name?
Aoife.
Aoife.
Aoife. Yeah,
Aoife.
it's just Irish for Eve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, why is everybody in the first person? Why is each section done in the first person?
Sure. A stylistic question. Why do I write in the first person? It's sort of my home person, the first person. The third person, I wish I could do it better. I didn't more. I'm just not that confident. I was talking with Antonia Byatt, the British writer you might know, one time about this, and she's a third person dame. She really is a dame, of course, and I was saying, I think it was with the third person, kind of the first person has an infinity filter because you're from inside the person, you know how they speak, you know what they want, and if you know these things, you know what you're going to do, what they're going to do. That takes care of the plot. Handy. In the third person, I just kind of don't know. Like, they could do anything. Like, how do you decide what they're going to do? And she just gave me she gave me the Antonia Byatt stare, which is quite scary, but also quite a privilege to have, of course. And she said, I just make them do what I think the reader will want to see them do. And I felt about an inch tall. Of course, there's the second person, not to be attempted. It is attempted by people in the first week of creative writing courses fairly often. Watch out for that one, because after about about 10 pages. It's like one of those Christmas round robin letters that people rather ill-advisedly do from the narrative voice of their cat, which is kind of great for cute things about chasing robins on the lawn, but really bad when someone's had a bypass operation in the house and is still trying to keep in character. But it's pulled off occasionally. Yeah, but that's kind of it's. I think I've said in that very rambly answer. It's kind of my home. It's sort of my home base. It's just easier for me to what do my atemporals say, to transverse into someone's mind and just sort of look at it through their eyes and know what they want and how they feel about sort of the top 10 determinators, what they think about politics or society or friendship or sexuality or work or religion. About 10 of these things that sort of you need to sort of get kind of lumped to start sort of making the golem character kind of to breathe life into it, as opposed to a golem character who would just stand there and say, precious.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for stopping me too. I don't know where I was going with that. Hello. The disrobing stops there, I promise you.
So like everyone here anticipating your next book, I'm thrilled and excited
thank you.
about reading this one. Read all the others and loved them so much.
Thank
but
you so
I know
much.
that it's going to be many years before the next one comes out after this. Which book should I go back and reread first, and why?
Oh, bless you. But really go back and reread Chekhov or Conrad or the Master and Margarita. Have you ever read that book?
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
yes,
come on.
absolutely.
I mean, reread that before you reread anything I've written, please. I mean, it's better.
That's not an acceptable answer.
Yeah. They didn't say that in Brooklyn. They said, yes, Mr. Mitchell. Yes, here we are at the seat of the world's last remaining superpower for now. So yeah, that's not an acceptable answer, is it? I never really go back to them myself. I know I'm continuing to evade your answer, but your question, but Crispin Hershey would say, well, of course, you go back and he's a person in my book. I haven't just had a weird personality change in front of you. But I kind of don't want to be the sort of person who thinks so highly of himself that he can give such a gracious question, the direct answer, which it kind of...
So have I flustered David Mitchell?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm really easily flusterable. Just ask my wife. My wife flusters me about 5 times before breakfast every day. She really does. I'm just aware of their faults. I know they're there. Even reading this, I was still editing and changing. I just can't stop, really. Italo Calvino had a good line. I can never quite forgive a book for destroying what it's destroyed by being finished, by being written. And there's truth in that. I do the best I can. I never know if they're any good. I launch them out there, and maybe some years later I will develop an opinion about my work. But it's somehow dangerous to think too much about yourself. Googling yourself can make a young man go blind, kind of, they're quite right. And I feel that the biggest question I have any real legitimate business answering is, what can I do to make this book work? Because it's not. Anything beyond that, where I stand in the pantheon, are some of the very gracious things that some critics may write about me true, or are some of the disobliging things that the Richard Cheesemans, if you've read the book, less obliging critics might write about me. Are they true? It's just all these things are wasps at the picnic of the calm mind. and I need that calm mind to work. So they're kind of my enemy. So I will actually continue to evade your question. I'm grateful for it. Thanks very much, but I'm a foreign national and you have no jurisdiction over me. But thank you very much. Hello.
Hi. So your books play a lot with structure and even the sort of the very structure of the novel, but both this book and Cloud Atlas especially. And I'm wondering, when you're writing, do you think formally, like, oh, I really want to play with the structure and, do this sort of nesting doll and all these narrators that come together at various points? Or is it you come up with the plot first and the characters and the structure you just sort of build based on thinking in the first person? Or do you really think of your novels as trying to be more experimental and that's what you want to accomplish?
Thank you very much. Big complex question about the novel, about structure, and about how I do them. It's really about the writing process, I guess, isn't it? I guess to answer your question, I'll begin by saying I think novels are made of 5 things, kind of earth, air, fire, water, and quintessence. In novelistic terms are plot, character, ideas, style, and structure. And sometimes one is way out in front, as it was for Cloud Atlas and nesting doll things. That idea was there before I had a clue what to do with it. But I just wanted to see what it would look like, what it would work, or if it would work. The metaphor I think of here, which you may be too young to make much sense of, but when I was a kid, at places like Brighton, seaside resorts, there were these amusement arcades, and in them, I'm pretty sure these must have been American imports, but there were horse racing games with little plastic horses underneath a big glass dome. And am I making any sense at all, or am I? Yeah, great. And people would stand around, and you put the coin in, and if you back the winning horse, you get 3 of the coins back, and the machine would keep the rest, proving once again that you can't beat the house. Those 5 horses are, for me, the 5 elements of the novel. And when one gets too far in front, as say with Cloud Atlas, whooshong, the structure horse went zipping off. Then quickly you need the plot, character, ideas, and style to catch up. Generally, they're character-driven. Generally, for me at least, and it's an interesting question to ask the writers who are here, because I think you'll get wildly different answers. I know you would. But for me, the characters kind of come first, although I have notions about plot and dialogues and scenes that I might want, especially in a larger thing, but how they will all catch up with one another, I don't yet know. But the horse, a character horse goes streaking away, because I kind of work on the biographies and the voices of the characters first. Then it's a case of shunting up ideas, style, plot and structure to keep pace with it. I think that's actually a reasonable answer. Thank you. Thank you for that. Hello.
Hello. I just want to say we can have 2 more questions.
Oh no, is that all? I'm really enjoying this. If I'm really, really fast, can we make it 4? Thank you.
All right, really quick. Characters, for example, in Cloud Atlas with, the different mediums through which the 6 narrators kind of relay their story, the different styles in which the characters write. How do you go about creating those characters, making all their 6 voices sound so different, both, as these people and in the mediums that the story goes in?
How do you compose characters? To cram a 4-minute answer into a 30-second one, it's really simple. You write letters to yourself from them in your notebook. What's your name, may I ask?
Pablo.
Dear Pablo, my name is, you have the character's name. It's a great way to kind of get started. You can't attack a blank computer screen, but a blank piece of paper, you can do this kind of thing, and it works, and what is called writer's block is never a thing I have to trouble with, because just get a pen and just write, Dear David, or if they're really cheeky, Dear Dave. And then, yes, you write a letter to yourself from the character. Sounds like multiple personality disorder, but writers, we are kind of ill with things that would get us sectioned and hospitalised were they more extreme. There's low-level schizophrenia here. There has to be, because we need to believe in things that are not intensely enough to recreate them in text. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, or is it compulsive-obsessive disorder? Just to kind of not do anything else for the hours that you need to achieve the former, and multiple personality disorder. You have to be many people. Truly enough to be believable. Good luck, Pablo. Good luck with your own work. I sense a young writer. Good luck. Hello.
Hi, I have a question about one of your characters, and maybe it also goes to your editing process, but the character is Timothy Cavendish.
Yeah.
It seems like there are clues that he almost made it into this book. Some of us got advanced reader copies and saw him, but then he didn't seem like he made it. And
the case of the mysterious disappearing Cavendish. I've become more aware recently, or sort of admitted to myself, that while my books are not prequels or sequels, they are chapters in a larger kind of something I'm very pretentiously calling the Uber book, or the Uber novel. Pretentious? Moi? Surely not. And this is brought into being by having characters from one novel appearing in others, like, as you say, Cavendish was appearing in this. But once I sort of became aware, it's my Canadian editor did this actually. We had one or two too many gin and tonics after an event during the summer, and she sort of hit me on the shoulder and said, "I know what you're doing, Mitchell. You're making your own Middle Earth, aren't you?" And I said, "No, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I thought about it some more, and then kind of, yeah. I suppose I am. Once I realised this, then I thought, well, I better start planning. So Timothy Cavendish has been replaced by a character called Lev Frankland, who's going to be a major character in my next book, set in the late 60s. So he got the elbow. I'll bring him back at some point, don't worry. But
I like him very much.
Yeah, me too, but it was just a short scene, and he was sort of, they were expendable. So he kind of got knocked out. But thanks very much. Maybe just one more, and if it's okay with the venue. I'm ever so sorry. I'll be around for a bit afterwards, so if I didn't get to you, then please feel free to ask. Just on the system, I'll go to this gentleman, but if you'd like to catch me later, please feel free. Hello.
Hi.
You are the last chosen one.
Yes. So I've noticed that all across your novels, they take place all around the world in so many different places. I was wondering if you just had certain favorite places that you've ever been that are really inspire you.
Certain favourite places that I've ever been, which I really explore. That's also a beautiful question. Thank you. Many. What makes them special? It's sort of the mood you were in, who you were with, I suppose. I proposed to my wife in a beautiful place in Japan with the river running through and a sort of ravine with mountain temple in the background with the bells ringing, and she said, "You're joking? What?" But then I tried a few more times, and when the restraining order didn't work, then she took pity on me. So in a way, the whole of Japan, places. You're sort of asking for my Rivendells, aren't you?
Yes.
What are your favourite Rivendells?
Exactly.
That's a beautiful but very awkward last question, because I can't answer it without giving you loads of private information about myself.
It's more so up to the author than the venue on the questions, so we are going to take these last three questions.
You will take the last questions, did you say? Oh, great. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Then let me have Narnia. It's not real, but when I was a kid, I'd go there all the time. and learn how literature, fiction, when it works, that's transformative. It's not the writer. It's the books. It's the places, and that glorious magic that fiction can achieve. These little squiggles of ink on vegetable fibre can remove your mind somewhere else, potentially make you a better human being. Like, wow, what a wow that is. And it was sort of in Narnia where I just got, I mean, about 3 of them aren't that good even, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of the right not to, oh, the last one is A Dog's Dinner. What was he thinking? Jesus. But it didn't matter, you know, because I'd learnt from them that all literature is a wardrobe into Narnia, that it works like that, and it's almost free. You sort of get this you get access to this mind-enhancing drug that alters who you are potentially and removes you from the room potentially and changes the speed of time when it works. And it's almost free, and all of its side effects are positive ones. Isn't that great? So thank you very much for your wonderful question, Narnia.
Thank you.
Lady, hello.
I would agree with you about the mind-altering drug of reading. I have been a lifelong reader, and I've always found that happens for me.
Then we are fellow junkies.
My question is, what inspires your transformational moments when the contents of the subway are suddenly transformed into something else? What inspires you to all of a sudden change?
You mean with the reading I just did just now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the woman who was fishing knew the character's name and she couldn't possibly have known it. It's not really inspiration. It's more... Inspiration is a dodgy word. In the land of Narnia, the lawyers make a fortune out of that word, inspiration, and creativity too. I suppose a book I mentioned earlier, Master and Margarita, there is evidence for me that if you do it all right, if you think really carefully, you can avoid the substantial author traps, and you can pull off the trick of combining politics and fantasy. It's really hard to do. It's like matter and antimatter in a Star Trek film. They just blow everything up the moment they come anywhere near. But he does it in that film, Pan's Labyrinth, as well. I can never pronounce the director. Can someone help me? That, yes. Thank you. And I want to do the same in the book.
Okay, you said inspirational. What I said was transformational.
Transformational, I do beg your pardon. It's always curiosity. I just want to see if I can make that work.
It works.
Oh, thank you so Thank you so much.
In my humble opinion.
I never know until I get to this point. And not all the critics would have, I understand. I mean, I don't read them these days, but I get my agent to send name of the journal, then disobliging, mixed or positive. And if it's disobliging or positive, I want the name. Positive so that I can say thanks if we ever meet at a party, and in the case of the disobliging ones, so that I can take some kind of Kevin Spacey revenge on them at some point in the future. Or change their name slightly and put them into my next book and give them a really grotesque Stephen King type death. Not that I worry about reviews or anything else, but yeah, it's always sort of curiosity, sort of you will know yourself. We all do. As long as you're learning, you're really alive. And you're really growing, and kind of, isn't education the best Prozac? Isn't learning stuff that...
Definitely.
It's wonderful. You can't be depressed when you're learning something. And all of the books, in a way, they are kind of individual modules in a kind of lifelong creative writing course. I kind of do for myself. Right. And the thing with the bone clocks is, can I change the laws of physics? Bend the laws of physics occasionally here and there, and then in the fifth part, blow the laws of physics up. yet still try to persuade the reader to take me seriously when I'm talking about Iraq or a post-oil civilization crumbling to its knees kind of a future. Can I do that? And the book is a kind of a lesson to myself in how I might manage it. Thanks for your question.
Thank you so much.
It was really thoughtful. Thank you for yours. Hello, just two more. Hi.
I also have a Tim Cavendish question.
Great.
He's a popular character.
Yeah, he is, but he's always Jim Broadbent in my mind now. I can never think of what he used to look like. It's kind of gone. But sorry, go on.
So this might be a stupid question, but it's about Cloud Atlas, and there's these 6 characters who all share the comet birthmark, and I think the implication is they're supposed to share the same soul over time.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me when I was reading that I think Cavendish and Louisa Ray are actually alive at the same time.
They are.
She's in the 70s and he's an old man at the turn of the century. So it occurred to me maybe I wasn't supposed to be taking the whole reincarnation thing quite so literally, and I was wondering just your thoughts on that aspect of that book. Was it more of a general thematic thing and less of a literal thing, or what?
Sure. I mean, my thought when I noticed that when I was writing it was, oh, damn. Then I do what we all do when you notice you've made a mistake you can't fix, which is to rationalize it. And my rationalization is that things are more interesting when they're fuzzy and when they don't quite fit. And the novel is so good at this. It's this generous form. It's baggy. It's capacious. You can't do that in a short story or even a novella without killing the story or the novella. But you can in a novel. They are little textual, they're portable textual temples of inexactitude. It's kind of okay for novels to not make complete sense. This is, of course, a rationalization.
We forgive you.
But it's kind of a true rationalization as well. I'll sort that out in a Christmas special. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Last one. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm getting my MFA in fiction.
Hey, good luck. Well done. When?
Thank you. Next year I'll finish.
After how many years of
It's a 3-year
at the
program.
qualification?
Yes.
And that's here in Washington?
Yes.
Hey, well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations in advance. I hope I
Thank you
haven't
very much.
jinxed you horribly.
I still have to produce a manuscript, so that's a little premature, but...
Manuscript. That's what... Didn't Douglas Adams say about deadlines? I love the sound they make as they go whooshing by.
It's perfectly apt. Yeah. And I also spent several years living in Japan, and I'm doing translation from Japanese, which
Wow.
I know you've also worked on.
Yeah.
So here you are, this brilliant British role model, writing all the books that I want to write. So clearly, if I were to be any other writer, I would like to be you. Who would you like to be if you could be any other writer?
You, brother. Thank you again for the stunningly nice things you said about my writing in that. You go in search of your own voice. You have crushes on writers. I had one on Murakami when I wrote Number 9 Dream, so much so that I nicked a John Lennon song like he did. There's a sort of, but crushes, of course, end, and they leave a slight bit of residue, don't they?
Not yet.
You admire people along the way you find them, and that's right, and I did with Milan Kundera, with Italo Calvino, I still do with Conrad. My crush on him will never end. I think he's mine, and Chekhov as well. So some you sort of move beyond, or not beyond, but kind of somewhat away from, and others you do take with you, and you always have a copy, even when you put everything you own in your backpack and go to Japan, you've still got sort of like a handful of books, and those are the ones you take with you. But yes, you go off in search of your own voice, and then, oddly enough, if you're in it for the long term, and you still want to be doing this when you're 60 and 70 until you die, you then kind of need to lose your voice again as well. You need to sort of find, you need to do both. Another example of, in a way, the novel's not only a temple of inexactitude, it's of impossibility. It can allow you to do incompatible, contradictory things, including kind of, it's a form in which you do need to find your own voice, but then not be sort of imprisoned in it and then just become one of those writers who is stuck kind of writing ever diminishing versions of the big hit. So if you have a cloud atlas in your future, make damn sure that your next thing has a big sort of stretch of clear blue water between it and that, because but for the grace of the gods of omnivoracity, which is another favourite word, by the way, omnivoracity, yummy. But for the grace of the gods of omnivoracity, there go all of us. Good luck. Do think about why your favourite writers are your favourite writers. Work out what it is they do that you want to be able to do. How can they do that? It's never magic. It looks like it is, but it's not. It's just craft. And it's a wonderful, infinite form. And if you are a writer, as you appear to be, then a life spent learning, approaching mastery of this infinite, never masterable craft, and becoming someone like Roth, who's still doing brilliant work at his age, it is really not a bad life. Good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Thank you.